Okay, let's talk about some fantasy players and the impact, and let's break down some players that you may want to target either in the waiver wire or maybe via trade for this upcoming week. We're going to start with the running backs, right? Obviously, the guy that stood out to me, number one, is Tyrone Tracy, right? Tyrone Tracy Jr. of the New York Giants. Now, he went off for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. That was really, really a big performance. And I said big a lot because of the Giants. But the problem is that he doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's maybe the downside to him. But definitely, if you're looking for a guy to maybe plug in for a week or maybe just storm somewhere, he's a guy. Another guy I'm looking at is Tank Bigsby from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's starting to, if not take all of the snaps for Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne may be on the trade block here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I would definitely try to lean into him if you can get him on the waiver wire or maybe make a trade for him. He's definitely a guy. He rushed for 100 yards, 100 plus yards this past season and 2 touchdowns. And again, it's production. He's taking more of the carries away from Travis Etienne. So definitely one guy you want to check out there. Roschon Johnson, he's very key to that Bears offense because he's very versatile, right? You can line him up anywhere as well. He's a good pass catcher. And I believe he scored twice this past week against the Carolina Panthers. And he's good in short yards, especially if they get up on that goal line, they may want to go to him. So that's another running back from the Chicago Bears and Roschon Johnson. And then Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Aaron Jones may miss some time. I believe he has a hip injury. So he may be the next guy in line, right? Who's going to take all of the snaps. I know they're going to probably have another guy in to give him a spell, but he definitely has big play potential. So you factor that all in together. You got to make a run at him if he's available either via trade or via the free agency waiver wire there. Okay. And then of course, Justice Hill, Derrick Henry definitely is a guy there, but Justice Hill, in some, depending on your league, if you're in a PPR, he may provide you as a better option. But if you're in a regular standard league, maybe not so much with Justice Hill, but he's definitely a guy you want to kind of look at because they're going to have to spell Derrick Henry at some point. But he's one of the guys that, like I said, it depends on the league. You may want to look at him as an option. Tyler Goodson. Now, this is all depending on what happens with Jonathan Taylor. If John Taylor's out again, Tyler Goodson might be a really good pick. Now, he's a little bit more shiftier, maneuverable than Sermon. So I think, though, when he gets in the game, he has more of a big play ability than the Sermon guy. But this all relies on if Taylor is out. If not, then you may not want to consider him. Or excuse me, if he is in, then you may not want to consider him. So that's another guy, but he's for the Indianapolis Colts. So those are some running backs I would say maybe you want to kind of keep an eye on throughout the week. Maybe do a little bit more research, but those are my opinions on some of those guys. Now, as far as wide receivers are concerned, Darnell Mooney playing really well. Like I talked about, Kirk Cousins kind of really settling into this offense. He's definitely a guy that he's going to share a lot of targets with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, but he's definitely a guy we've seen Kirk Cousins go to a lot in some of these games. So I really like his matchups in the next coming weeks with some kind of weaker secondary. So Darnell Mooney's out there for the Falcons. Josh Downs, Indianapolis Colts, especially with Joe Flacco. If you have him and Joe Flacco starting, go out and get him. Go out and get this guy. You will not be disappointed. He can be a wide receiver too, or possibly a really good flex on your team if Joe Flacco's out there. So I would look out for him. Allen Lazard. Oddly enough, although the Jets offense has been struggling, there's one familiar thing that is common for Allen Lazard is that's Aaron Rodgers, and they have a really good relationship. So outside of Garrett Wilson getting all of a lot of the press or the coverage and things of that nature, I like Allen Lazard too as being that second option, especially in the red zone. He's very tall, he's rangy, he can go out and get those fade routes, things of that nature. So definitely like him there. Demario Douglas for the New England Patriots. Now, this is kind of a risk because you got a quarterback in Drake May who may be running for his life, right, this upcoming weekend against the Houston Texans. But maybe you grab him, you stash him, see how everything kind of plays out, and then maybe you include him in your roster the following week. But he's definitely has some talent, I will say that. And that's pretty much it for the wide receivers for fantasy for me. As far as quarterbacks are concerned, I'm Daniel Jones, right? A lot of people don't really believe it. And like I said, Daniel Jones is a guy, if you are in dire need of a quarterback, a starting quarterback, he's definitely a guy, especially if Malik Neighbors is healthy again. That's going to help boost his production a little bit more. So definitely uh, Daniel Jones there. Other than that, there's really not no other quarterbacks. Maybe a Bo Nix, but he's not consistent enough. One thing I will say, he will steal a rushing touchdown from maybe your running back because he'll quarterback sneak it, he'll run the ball, tuck it in, and go himself. So maybe again, if you really find yourself in a pinch and you need a starting quarterback, I was gonna say Derek Carr, but he's might be limited too. So I'll kind of stay away from him. But definitely Daniel Jones and Bo Nix are somebody, two of those players you maybe want to look out for. Now, as far as tight ends are concerned, Zach Ertz is having a pretty fair season right now. Jaden is spreading the ball around there, and I do like the volume of targets that he does receive, and I like their matchups that they have the next couple of weeks. And teams that they're playing, they really do not cover tight ends very well, so I do like that. That does vote very well for Zach Ertz. Cade Cotton, I know I talked about him last week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's going to see an elevated role continuously each week. I think his volume of production is going to get up there. So he could be a tight end one for you in some week or some matchups there. So I would definitely look out for him. Colby Parkinson for the LA Rams, another guy. He could be a sneaky option. Again, if you have your tight end one on a bye week, maybe you want to plug him in. Tyler Conklin, again, continues to be another guy. I believe he got a touchdown this past weekend for the Jets. So another guy who will see a lot of red zone targets there. So that bodes well for you in fantasy, of course. And then Juwan Johnson, New Orleans Saints. Again, I think they got a good matchup this week, but it all depends on the quarterback situation. So if Derek Carr is there and if he can give it a go, maybe you want to stash him too. But if you're really in a pinch and you need a guy that's going to maybe get some targets, Juwan Johnson might be your guy. Now, as far as defenses are concerned, Philadelphia, I think, is a good matchup, right? Because they got the Browns this week. So and I think moving forward, they got some struggling offenses that they're going to be playing. So, but for sure this week, the Browns not good on offense for sure. So I like them. I like the Houston Texans for sure this week too against the New England Patriots because they have no offense as well too. So I like their favorite. I like their matchups there. The Chargers defense. I get it. They are, maybe kind of like a mid-level team. But they also themselves are facing mediocre offenses here in the next couple of weeks. So again, that's another reason why you want to maybe go out and get one of these teams. Again, these teams are not teams you're going to want to rely on. Maybe for the Texans, but Texans do give up a lot of points. But if you find yourself, again, if you need to replace a team because they're on a bye, or maybe you don't like the matchup that your defense has that you originally started, these are some teams you want to maybe kind of want to go out there and get rostered up quickly. Now, to close out, we have kickers. Austin Seibert started really well. I believe it was week 1 or week 2, or was it week 1 or week 2 against the Giants, where he had like 8 field goals. I think he is going to be effective because this is a high-scoring offense. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities when they're going to get down on that side of the field. Maybe they stall out, and he's going to be able to kick those field goals. And then Jake Elliott, for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's another guy. I feel like the Eagles are going to get a lot of scoring opportunities, and he's going to kind of present himself with an opportunity for you guys to get some more points. And then Chris Boswell for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, another team where their offense does struggle. They can move the ball, but then they can't score in the red zone. Chris Boswell will definitely be a piece that you might want to pick up there as well. Blake Group for the New Orleans Saints, especially because Derek Carr is going to be out this week, more than likely. Another guy that you want to see. And then finally, Cairo Santos for the Chicago Bears. I think he's going to get some opportunities as well. So those are some kickers that you may want to maybe kind of go out and see if you can kind of steal some points. Maybe you might need a point or two to win a game. But there you have it. Those are my fantasy impacts for week 6.